Dude, what happened?
Too many beans.
What's up, VideoFort Nation? I'm Magic Bard, and for today, we're going to go through a zacking effect where he's throwing up candy. I think this was one that he posted around Halloween time. So he's just throwing up candy. I'm going to have my actor throwing up some jelly beans because they have that nice projectile look and bouncing around on the ground. It looks kind of funny. So we're going to go through that. But before we jump into it, I want to give a couple of shout outs to AB186 and Ryan Little. Appreciate the love, guys. Thanks for checking out our tutorials and leaving some love. Thanks for the love. So much love. But if you guys are new to VideoFort, hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell icon right next to it, so that way you'll be notified every time we put out a new tutorial every single week. So with that being said, let's jump into the tutorial. All right, guys, let's show you how to film this one. So I'm going to, let's see, open up our QuickTime and show you the first shot you want to get is of you throwing the beans out in an area where you think the actor is going to pretend like they're throwing up, okay? So that area for me is going to be around this general area, and I'll show you. Basically, I had this kind of funnel that I created and then poured the beans out that way, okay? And then I made the actor sit kind of close to that area to make sure he saw where that bean throwing happened, because then he does his acting part where he pretends like he's going to throw up the beans in this area, okay? And that is how you shoot this one. Obviously, keep your camera on a tripod so that the camera is in the same place for both shots, and then you will be good to go. So let's jump into After Effects and try to create this one. So there's basically, I'm going to break this one down into 6 steps. So step number 1, what we're going to do is take our second clip and drag it into a new comp. And that's the clip where he is throwing up the beans onto the ground. The first clip, okay, the one you shot before this, let's drag that one on top, okay? So now we have this guy on top, and what we're going to do is match this action with his mouth. So how we can do that is press T for opacity, drop it down to 50%, and let's see where we can get him down here, okay? And around this general area. So for step 1, we are matching the beans coming out of the funnel and matching it with him, making it look like it's coming out of his mouth. So that's good right there. Now for step 2, what we want to do is mask these 2 clips. So let's or this top clip. Let's change the names for these. So we're going to call this one our projectile beans, and then we can call this one our actor layer. Oops. Actor layer. Okay, cool. Now what you're going to do is mask out your projectile beans so that you don't see whoever it is throwing the beans out, okay? So we can kind of zoom in here and start to create a mask around your actor and then your actor's mouth. So the beans are going to come out right here. And then just kind of cover up, cover the whole area. Because the beans kind of fly all over the place, right? And then my guy's shoe is right here, so I'm going to come in here like this and boom. Cool. So now what should happen is that we only see the beans coming out right there. Cool. Now what we're going to do is keyframe that mask so it looks like that it's coming out of our dude's mouth, okay? Now, as you can see, this is the tip of the guy's mouth. So what we're going to do is just keyframe it frame by frame. So I'm going to open up this mask right here, and this is the mask that we created. I'm actually going to change the color so we can see it a little better, probably to a blue. Okay, cool. So now you can see the outline a little bit better. And then all you have to do is keyframe it, okay? And then go frame by frame and start to move your points around so that they're always coming out of his mouth, okay? Another thing that I would do is feather out this mask so it doesn't have this harsh edge. So go to the mask feather and maybe turn that up to like 25 or something solid like that. And then have the mask coming from inside his mouth, okay? You don't want to have it out here because it won't really look like it's coming out of his mouth. You got to kind of put that point nice in there, and make sure you don't cut off his nose or his head up here. And then keyframe this all the way through. So I'm going to fast forward this one. Okay, so once you've created your keyframed out mask all the way through, the next step is to create these other masks as well. Okay, so what these guys are doing are kind of cleaning up these unwanted beans that are, maybe it looks like it's coming out from his forehead or something like that. So let me kind of show you what these other guys are doing. And these are all, as you can see, subtraction masks, okay? So I go in here and let's just take this guy for example, this mask 1 right under his mouth. This one is to make sure that I don't have any beans coming out from this angle, because that would look kind of weird if it's just coming out from his neck, you know. And then also it sort of has this funneling effect where it funnels all the beans out straight from his mouth, as you can see, okay? So that's one of them. Now the other mask I have right here, this guy, he's going to pop in right there, okay? And maybe I should change the color so you can see it a little bit better to a bright green, okay? So this guy only comes in for a few frames, okay? So I have it right here just off screen the whole time. Because remember, anything inside of this blue outline will be the subtraction, since this blue outline is a add mask, okay? So it pops in here and it deletes a bean that comes in here, bounces around and comes out. So I have it in here for a couple of frames. As you can see, I moved it around, left it there, and then boom, it pops back out. And then I did this again with another mask, the bean deleter. So you know, you can also rename your masks as well, as I did here. And you can see this mask right here, I'm just deleting this little blue bean that kind of comes out from his eye, it looks like, and then I dropped it back up. So let me put that down to subtract, and that'll take away the bean. Okay, and that's a way that you guys can take away these or delete these unwanted beans that may not come out straight through his mouth, because when you're funneling the beans, they may jump all over the place, right? So that is how we create the masks for this shot. Another thing you can do is time remap the shot, time remap your layer so that the beans fly out at a fast pace. Now you can see right here I sped up the shot, and then at the very end where I have these, you know, crazy beans coming out all over the place, I even sped it up some more. So if you know how to use time remapping, let me just show you this really quickly. Basically all you have to do is go to right click on your layer, go to time, and click on that enable time remapping, and then what you'll get are some points, or keyframes actually. And what you can do is you can set a keyframe right at a certain point in time, bring your playhead out, set another keyframe, and so now with these two keyframes, if you move this one closer, it's going to speed up the time here and slow down this time out here, okay? So that's how you do the time remapping in After Effects, speeding up and slowing down time. But that is for another tutorial. So I'm assuming that you guys have the basics and know how to do that. So that you can kind of speed out this throw up effect. And once you've done that, we can go on to step 3, which is adding extra bean vomit. Okay, and this is kind of a simple step we can do, but adds some to the effect. What we're going to do is duplicate your projectile bean layer. So Command D, and then just rename this extra bean vomit, right? And then we can trim this layer down. We got to trim the fat from this layer. So Option, hold down the Option key and hit that beginning bracket tool, which is right under the minus sign on your keyboard. And then bring your playhead out a few frames. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that should be good. And then Option, end bracket. And now let's zoom in here and see what we got. We can close this guy for now, open this one up, and we're going to delete these masks, okay? Except for our full mask, which is covering the whole thing. And then what we're going to do is create another mask. So I'm going to take this guy and kind of see what this bean vomit looks like and start to mask only the beans. Like this. And you can kind of get close to the beans, right? Because we don't want to get any of those tiles. So boom. And let's just turn it off for now. So put it to none. And what we're going to do is keyframe the mask path. And just make sure that you're always getting these beans in the mask. And you don't have to get any of these stragglers out here, just because we don't want to get the tile. We just want the beans. So this looks good like that. Like that. Get skinny on the beans. And good. Okay. That looks pretty good right there. And boom. Okay guys, so we're basically just keyframing this, and then what we can do is bring this pathway up here and do something like this. And then what we're going to do is click on this and hit the intersect. So what it's going to do is take the section in between each mask. So the blue mask and our peach mask, it's going to take the intersection point or plane and use that. And boom, we're going to have this extra vomit that we can play around with. So I'm going to close this guy for now and hit the P for position because we're going to mess around with that. And let's drag this layer out a few frames. So then what's going to happen is he's going to throw up and there's going to be a little bit extra coming out. And then what you're going to do is keyframe the position. Okay, so make it look like this is coming out of his mouth right there, right? And then down a frame, just really throw it in there. One more. Nice, right in there. And good. Okay, another thing you want to do is obviously feather out this mask, right? So let's open up that mask again and feather it out maybe 10 pixels. Okay, now we can close that back up and hit P so we can see that position and duplicate it again. So I would do this maybe 2 more times. Okay, so you have 3 extra vomits and then just kind of stack those layers out. So it looks like he's just continuously has an intense amount of vomit, you know, bean vomit coming out of his mouth. And then keyframe that position, just make sure that it looks like it's all coming out of his mouth right there. And I'm going to fast forward this one as you guys keyframe the position. Okay, cool guys. So now you have some throw up, you've got the bean throw up, you've got the bean vomit, you've got extra bean vomit that we created, and it's looking good right now. Remember to mask out, really throw in as many keyframes as you need to make this look real, and you'll be good to go for this. Now, select it all and pre-compose it. Or another thing you can do is take your composition. Let's just call this our tutorial candy throw up. I'm just going with tutorial because I'm doing it for you guys. So take this composition, drag it into a new comp, okay, so we can pre-comp that. And then what we're going to do is add a wiggle expression. So before we add this wiggle expression, hit that P so you can see the position. Go into your effects and presets and type in slider control and drag on one of those sliders, and then click on the slider control and hit that command D so we can duplicate it. And now let's name these. I'm going to call this one per seconds, and then this one I'm just going to call pixels. And then we're going to hit this option click on the stopwatch right next to your position. So option click, and this is going to open up a nice little place where we can create an expression. So type in wiggle parentheses, okay, the open parentheses, and then drag this pick whip up here to our per seconds slider. Let go, and we're gonna get this nice little write out. Hit that comma button, take the pick whip again and drag it right onto your pixel slider, and then just close that parentheses like that. Press enter. And let me just explain to you really quickly what we did. So in our other tutorials on VideoFort, when I usually do a wiggle expression, I type in wiggle parentheses 1 comma 10 or something like that, which means the position, okay, will wiggle one time a second, okay, 1 times a second, and then comma 10 pixels, okay, so it'll move 10 pixels, right? So now, because we created these sliders, we can keyframe the expression, okay, which makes this even more powerful and gives us more control. So now I can drag out our playhead, add in some keyframes, and maybe I'll do 1, and then it's like comma maybe 10 pixels, okay, and that'll add a bit of a shake to our footage. And you can kind of barely see that. This is a 4K clip, so 10 pixels isn't really much. So maybe I'm going to do 15 instead. And I'm going to press U on my keyboard so I can see those keyframes right there. And then I'm going to drag this out, and right as he starts to throw up, okay, I'm going to drag these guys over here a little bit closer, and right as he throws up, I'm going to turn this up. So maybe go to like 25, and definitely not 25 times a second. Maybe like 10. And then you'll see it start to really shake as he's throwing up. And what we're simulating is that he's projectile vomiting so hard that it shakes the ground and shakes the camera, okay? And that's kind of what we're doing right here. So boom, and then maybe at about out here as he's no longer throwing up, we bring this back down to 1 and 15 or something. And you guys can really play around with this and get it to a point that looks real to you, real or funny or exaggerated, whatever it is you're trying to get out of this. And yeah, guys. Now, the last thing you do before I end this off is go to layer new null object. Okay, and you guys already know what I'm doing if you've seen the other tutorials. Take the pick whip tool and just locate that null. So now that we are parented to the null, we can do stuff like hit S for scale, Shift P to open up your position. Now we can keyframe our position and scale. So now I can do things like, hit these keyframes right here, zoom into my clip, maybe 125%, and scale it over so I can see our actor. And then right before he throws up, maybe I could zoom out to 105, and then drag this over and up. And you can really create some camera movement with this, right? So maybe I want to select both of these, Command C, Command V, just so we stay in the same place throughout that time. And then maybe I want to zoom in and mess around with the position as well. And then what you've got is a nice little zooming effect and camera movement, so it doesn't look like you're on a tripod. Another thing you can do is right click on all of your keyframes, go to, sorry you guys can't see that, so select all your keyframes, right click, keyframe assistance, ease, and that will kind of smooth out the motions in between these keyframes. And then guys, you're done and good to go. Alright guys, I hope that tutorial helped you out. If it did, let us know in the comment section, leave us a like, and hit us up with any questions you may have about visual effects, editing, anything that we can help on Adobe, Premiere Pro, After Effects, that kind of stuff. I love to address those questions and hopefully create a tutorial to help you guys out even more. So, with that being said, this is VideoFort, I'm Magic Bard, and I'll see you guys on the next one.